right. Yes. Welcome, everyone, to Inside Story, the biannual celebration of new books by local authors and illustrators, brought to you for 25 years by the Western Washington chapter of the Society for Children's Books Writers and Illustrators. My name is Ajalyn Maddox. I'm a freelance illustrator and coordinator of the Inside Story event. My co-host is Dana Sullivan, who many of you will know from hosting Inside Story for the past handful of years. He is a writer and illustrator of picture books and graphic novels. Our tech fairy is Karen Lewis, author and illustrator of Beautiful Books and World Traveler, and she's the one who will be highlighting all the presenters while we speak. And finally, we have Kristen Varner, graphic novelist, luminary, and horse enthusiast, who will be our trivia master and timekeeper, giving everyone warnings when their allotted 2 minutes are coming to an end. We are not partnering with bookstores anymore, but we encourage you to support your local bookstores by purchasing these lovely folks' books. Now, Dana will be sharing today's program in the chat, complete with interactive links that will take you to our presenters' websites, where you can learn more about them, as well as a link to our bookshop.org page. And there you can find all of the books available for purchase online. There will also be 3 book giveaways at the end of our presentation, so stay tuned for those. You will be chosen randomly, but you must be present to win, so please make sure to stay until the very end. Inside Story began in 1998 when authors Laura McGee, Kvasnosky, and George Shannon created a forum where authors and illustrators could celebrate their new titles with local booksellers, librarians, teachers, and other friends of children's books. It's been going strong ever since, and I'm so grateful for all of you being here. In fact, 116 people have registered to watch this event. So welcome to all of you. And even though we can't see each other, or especially because we can't see each other because of this virtual format, we're going to start with a little introduction poll to see who's watching, to see who's attending. So Karen, why don't you pull up the introduction poll?
Yes, we just want to know who you are. Teacher, librarian, author, or illustrator, blogger, just a lover of kidlit? Let us know who's out there in the audience today. All right, that's pretty good participation. So I'm going to end the poll. It looks like we have a lot of authors, a lot of illustrators, a great number of teachers and librarians, and lots of kidlit enthusiasts. Welcome. Whether your field or background, we're happy to have you today at Inside Story. And so without further ado, it's time to hear from our kidlit presenters.
First up, we have Jan. This does not count against your time. I just have to explain this hat. I had eye surgery. It looks like hell. I'm wearing a patch. I figured I'd just lean right into it and just have fun with it. So, matey. Okay. Now, Jay Anderson Coates is the author of books for kids, including A Season Most Unfair, The Night Ride, and Spindle and Dagger. She has received 3 Junior Library Guild selections, 2 Washington State Book Awards, and earned starred reviews from Kirkus, which is really hard to do, School Library Journal, the Hornbook Review, and Shelf Awareness. Today, she's talking about her newest book, A Season Most Unfair. Take it away, Jay Anderson.
All righty. Thank you all so much for being here today. I'm Jillian. I write as Jay Anderson Coates. I use she, her pronouns, and I am delighted to share with all of you a little bit about my newest book, A Season Most Unfair. So I started thinking about this book in 2001, and as we all know, that was a year. Most of my work is historical and historical-ish, so things like colonialism, oppression, standing up to that sort of thing, power dynamics. And, I kind of wanted a little break from that. I just wanted to write something that was fun. So I asked myself, what did people in the Middle Ages do for fun that modern people would also think was fun? So, obviously there's plenty of things that modern people have that medieval people obviously didn't have, and plenty of things that medieval people thought were fun that, unfortunately, things like animal cruelty, modern people don't think is very much fun. So where is the common ground? The fair. So medieval people loved the fair. We love the fair. And all of us, medieval and modern people, love the fair for a lot of the same reasons. The big one is obviously it's a break in the routine. You go there, there's all kinds of good stuff to eat. And in the Middle Ages, people came from all over the place. They came from Europe, they came from the Middle East, they came from Africa. and they were all brought together. They all brought their music, they all brought their games, they all brought their contests. There was a ton of stuff to buy, to see, and to do, all of this stuff. So that is where I decided to focus my attention on something fun, on something that brought people together from all over the place where they could gather and connect and share. So that is A Season Most Unfair. Thank you all for listening, and I'm going to hand it over.
Thank you. Thank you for starting us off strong. Next, we have Donna Barba Higuera, the New York Times bestseller of middle grade and picture books that reinvent history, folklore, and even her own life experiences into compelling storylines. She lives in Washington State with her husband, kids, 2 dogs, and a frog. Her books include Lupe Wong Won't Dance, El Cucuy is Scared Too, and The Last Cuentista. She has won awards including the Newbery Medal, both Pura Belpré Medal and Honor, PNBA, and both Best Book of the Year Award, and the Sid Fleshman Award for Best Children's Humor Book of the Year. Today, she'll be talking about her 2 latest books, Alebrijes and It's Navidad El Cucuy. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you. And Jillian, that was awesome. So yeah, no pressure on me. That was amazing. So the first book I want to talk to you about is called Alebrijes, and I'll explain a little bit about what that word is. So if you don't know what it means, I can explain it. So first, when I finished writing The Last Cuentista, there's a lot of pressure to write sequels. And I just felt like that character's arc was over and I needed to start with something new. And so, but I did have a question about the book I had written, which was, spoiler, there's a post-apocalyptic event, and who would survive? And if they did survive, where did they live? Where were they from? How did they survive? And so very selfishly, I decided to bring myself into that post-apocalyptic world. So spoiler, I survived. So the people who I come from, to show you a little bit about that, there's my great-grandfather, Francisco. And I also wanted my mom's family to survive. That is just before they moved after the Dust Bowl from Oklahoma. Sorry, we're getting a little bit of glare. And all these people ended up in what is now Central California. I'm going to see if I have a picture of that. I'm sure I did. Maybe I don't. But a lot of it looks like that. It's deserty and oil fields. That's my uncle and his best friends who were oil field workers. But that's who I wanted to survive. So I had the people. What was I going to call them? I decided to call them cascabeles, which serpientes de cascabel means rattlesnake, which is one of my biggest fears. So I decided to use my biggest fear in a novel. And that's where I went with it. But I was missing pieces of it. And for me, that's normally the sci-fi element. And then one day, listening to NPR never disappoints, I heard about the bird drone company that's in Scandinavia. Sorry, I know there's a ton of glare. And so I had all of the parts of that novel. So when I started writing that novel, there are these amazing people called Illustrators, and David Alvarez came up with this picture based on technology. And am I up? Is my time up? Okay, I can't see the 30-second mark, but that's the image that David Alvarez came up with. And he also used Ancient Night. And I'm going to use part of my time for my picture book for this, because I need to tell what an alebrije is, because people go, what does that even mean? But if you've seen the movie Coco, like when Miguel goes to the underground, the brightly colored animals that aren't quite natural, I thought, okay, we've got this drone kind of unnatural thing. And so that title came up. And so oftentimes titles get changed if people don't understand the language. Alebrije there is no translation. So people can change cuentista to storyteller. They can't change alebrije. There's no translation. So that was my silent protest for the title. So then I've had a lot of books come out this year. So am I used up my picture book time yet?
You have.
I've gone 4 minutes.
Nope.
Oh,
You have 2 minutes.
do I still have a minute to talk about the picture book?
Let's say you have 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay. So picture book. It's Navidad El Cucuy. If you don't know who El Cucuy, he's kind of like the Mexican boogeyman, but he's really frightening. He's hairy and has bloody claws and fangs. So I decided to insert him into the happiest time of the year. And it ended up being really funny and sweet, but also showing empathy and peace, and like putting this horrific guy, he looks cute here, but in real life he's really horrifying, but because he does exist. But anyway, it ended up being adorable. This is with Abram's kid, and the illustrator is Juliana Perdomo, who is from Bogota, Colombia, and knows exactly who El Cucuy is also. So thank you. Sorry, that was a lot. High pressure, you guys.
Thank you, Donna, and we're so glad you wrote yourself to survive. That's smart. I'm gonna remember that one. Next up, Jennifer Bradbury has been climbing longer than she's been writing, but still has goals to reach and summits to strive for in both pursuits. Take is her 9th published book. Her last publication, Rock by Rock, The Fantastical Garden of Neck Hand, won the Washington State Book Award in 2022. She lives in Burlington, Washington. Take it away, Jennifer.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Hi, thanks. Yes, Take is my 9th book. I like to tell people that it's my most Washington book yet, because I kind of wanted to go back to sort of writing adventure stories, which is what I started with in 2008 with my very first publication, which was Shift. And I wanted to go back to that feeling of sort of, taking kids on an adventure and going alongside with somebody on this big adventure. But I couldn't quite escape the historical fiction that I'd sort of been writing for years and years as well. So what happened was I ended up writing all these locations and places that we love to be and to climb in throughout the state, and state parks and everything else. So I just basically pulled as much of Washington as I could into the book, including some of the rich history of Washington State with that historical fiction timeline. So Take tells the story of Kara, who is an avid rock climber who's about to go on her, beginning adventure, kind of post high school, and then realizes her dad, who's kind of erratic and not super dependable, is missing and has taken off on a climb he should not be trying to climb. And then she finds all these clues to what has driven him to make this decision, and they connect to the Civilian Conservation Corps at Deception Pass State Park, and the incarceration of Japanese Americans in the state as well. So I love the book and I'm excited about it. I got a star review from Kirkus, and then things kind of went crickety quiet around here. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing some of the same stuff, but yeah, I'm very excited about it. And one last thing, I've got 30 seconds, but I don't think I need it. I have the hardest time with titles. Anybody else? Anybody good at titles? I suck at titles. My editor usually ends up titling the book after I've been calling it like the rock climbing book for years, right? Take came to me immediately because it's like it's one of those multi-use words. It just means to tighten up the rope when you're climbing, and it fits perfectly for how I try to build the tension in the story as well. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, next we have Clelia Castro Malaspina, who you may know as Clelia Gore, is a former children's book literary agent and lawyer who founded the freelance developmental editing company for children's books, Mossy Pine Creative. Let's hear about her latest book, Your Freedom, Your Power, A Kid's Guide to the First Amendment. Oh, you're muted. There you go.
My co-author, Allison Matuli, who's a teacher, lawyer, activist, and founder of The Little Lawyers, which is an organization that creates educational programming for kids to learn about their rights, knows that when kids understand their rights, their legal rights, they are empowered. But there are a few law books for kids on the market. And so she recruited me, a former lawyer and children's book publishing professional, to write this book with her. Kids may not be able to vote, they may not be able to run for office, but they do have First Amendment rights. In fact, the same rights that adults do. What is more empowering knowledge than that? These rights include freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the right to assemble and to petition the government. From the clothes they wear, how they express themselves on social media, the clubs they belong to, the religious symbols they wear, the books that they have access to or are banned from, kids are using these rights every day. And you know what else is empowering? Knowing that for decades, kids have been using and fighting for these rights, from the New York City newsboys who assembled in 1899 for fair pay, to the F-bomb dropping cheerleader who went all the way to the US Supreme Court to fight for her right to rant on Snapchat, and all the First Amendment kid heroes in between. Their stories are here. When I was researching and drafting this book, I was actually living in Singapore, a country that does not bestow full free speech rights. And let me tell you this, you don't know what you got till it's gone. During the pandemic, when emotions were high and frustration abounded, you acutely felt the lack of ability to criticize and demand change. As I was in my apartment researching the wonders of free speech, I was remaining silent, afraid to make a negative peep about the government for fear my family and I would be shown the door out of the country. This experience really and truly made me realize how special free speech is and that freedom is power. Your freedom, your power is a star-reviewed Junior Library Guild selection, highly digestible, highly entertaining, highly educational. There's nothing else like it on the market, and I hope you'll check it out.
Yay. Very cool, Clelia. Let's hear for F-bombs and the First Amendment. Yay. Okay. Joe Gershman has illustrated over 40 books with stories about magical flying horses, kangaroos, green pythons, the Nutcracker Ballet, and more. A Wild, Wild Hanukkah is the first book she has written along with co-author Bob Strauss. It is a tribute to the warm and wonderful Hanukkah celebrations of her childhood and to her love of animals. Her newest book, A Wild, Wild Hanukkah, is what she'll be sharing about today. Take it away, Joe.
Thank you, Dana. This is my book, A Wild, Wild Hanukkah, picture book. And it is a very personal project. It was a real tribute to my parents and to the wonderful, often chaotic Hanukkah celebrations that we had as children. We would have family and friends over. We would make latkes and play dreidel. We had a wild dog and cat who would chase each other through people's legs under the table and steal napkins off of guests, always those who were the most surprised about it. And I wanted to capture that chaos and also infuse this book with the senses, the laughter, the singing, the smells, the tastes, and just a general feeling of being surrounded by warmth and love. I worked on the book during the pandemic, and at that time, I realized there are a lot of children who can't have these kinds of celebrations. They're alone, maybe their parents are working as first responders. And so I feel that the book is also a tribute to the power of imagination. And I know if I had been one of those children, I would have invited all of my stuffed animals, of which there were many, to join me and to celebrate the holiday. Just a little bit about how I work. I am a traditional watercolor painter, which means brushes and paints. And so all of these spreads are full watercolor paintings. And this is really the painting that sold the book. And the little boy over here was my nephew, who was 8 years old when I first started working on this book in 2008. It's been a long journey because he's now 25. And lastly, I just wanted to say in 2 weeks, I have a book signing event at the University Bookstore, and there's information at eventbrite.com for Wild Hanukkah in Seattle. So thank you very much. Need my time.
Awesome. Thank you very Yeah, our next presenter is Barbara Herkert, the author of 6 picture book biographies and informational picture books. She received an MFA in writing for children from Hamline University. She served as illustrator coordinator and co-regional advisor for SCBWI Oregon and currently resides on the Olympic Peninsula. Her latest book is This Old Madrone Tree. So let's welcome up Barbara Herkert.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Yes, I'm Barbara Herkert, and this is my new book, This Old Madrone Tree, with beautiful illustrations by Marla Garnsworthy, and it's published by Web of Life Children's Books. We moved to the Olympic Peninsula 4 years ago to property on the Hood Canal with a magnificent madrone tree overlooking the water. Shortly after our move, COVID struck and we were shut down in a new place. I watched the madrone tree through that time, the changes that it made throughout the seasons, from clusters of beautiful white berries in the spring, as we see here, to curled red bark and scattered leaves in the summer, and red orange berries in the fall. And I took note of all the animals that found food and shelter in and around that tree. And I watched it hold on to a cliff during winter's savage storms. And it was as if that tree was saying, hold on, hold on. This will be over. The sun will shine again. Take cover, everyone. And I knew that I could hold on to. That Madrona tree gave me hope. And this book is my way of saying thank you. And my wish is that young readers are reminded that nature heals, nature comforts, and nature makes us whole again. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Barb. Beautiful book. Madrona. Yeah, and a beautiful song. So I love that. Next up, we have Karina Lukin, who's the author, illustrator of ABC and You and Me, coming out June 20, came out in June. The Tree and Me, an NCTE notable poetry book and indie bestseller. My Heart, a New York Times bestseller, and The Book of Mistakes, which the Wall Street Journal called Sublime. Sublime. She is also the illustrator of several books, including Patchwork, written by Matt De La Pena. She was raised in Oregon, California, and Hawaii, and studied dance, improvisation, poetry, and printmaking at Middlebury College in Vermont. She now lives near the Salish Sea in Olympia, Washington, with her husband, daughter, and 2 small cats. Her latest books are ABC and You and Me and In the Dark. Take it away, Karina.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dana. So yeah, my name is Karina Lukin, and I am going to talk to you about 2 books today. Here they are. The first one is a book that I wrote and illustrated. It's called ABC and You and Me. And this book, it has been about 15 years in the making. So it's a project that is near and dear to my heart. And what I wanted to tell you about this book, it's an alphabet book. It's also a book about getting up and moving. We have adults making the shapes of the big letters and kids making the shapes of the little letters. And we have some dancing pages. So the whole thing starts with an invitation to move. Can you wiggle your arms? But what I wanted to tell you about this book is that actually when this book was almost done, when I had drawn all of the art, finished all the letter pages and was just working on the dancing pages, finishing them up, I made a decision along with my editor and art director to redraw the entire book. So the original finished version of this book actually looked more like this. And the people's bodies were actually finished with a gray printmaking. You can see I'm playing with 2 different grays in this example, but we had gray bodies for the whole book. And I actually really loved this look for the individual letters, but when we put them all together in the book, something wasn't quite feeling right to us. It was a little monotonous, actually, among other things. And so at the very last minute, we went back around and I redrew the entire book, and we chose to stick with the white clothing that I'd had in the original sketches. I think it really allows the people's faces and bodies to show, and the focus becomes more on the beauty of the people, and it's just not as overwhelmed by the dark gray ink. So this is a book I'm super proud of. It's an invitation, like I said, to get up and move. I finally got to use my experience as a improvisation dance major in college to put into that book. And there is a downloadable PDF to go with the book on my website that is a movement guide. So you can print it out, you can read it like a script, you can read it and be inspired by it. So for teachers and librarians out there, there's that resource on my website. The other book I wanted to tell you about very quickly is In the Dark, written by Kate Hofler. This is my second collaboration with Kate. We did Nothing in Common together. And this is a book. What's special about this book, among other things, is that it opens vertically and it's told in 2 voices. So there is a kind of greenish voice and a purplish voice and a big black gutter that divides the 2 for most of the book. And I was very fortunate to have an editor who was really excited to play with the formatting. So I think the format of this book is special and it helps tell the story. And so I hope you will check them both out. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Karina. Next, we have Vikram Madan. Grew up wanting to be a cartoonist, but ended up an engineer. After a long detour, lost working in tech, he regained his sanity by writing and illustrating books for kids, including the Geisel Honor-winning Owl and Penguin series and the award-winning poetry collection, A Hatful of Dragons. Now let's hear about his new book, Zuni Tales, Keep It Up, Plucky Pup. Go ahead, Vikram.
Hey everybody, this is my new book, Zuni Tales, Keep It Up, Plucky Pup. This story starts with the pandemic. We were 2 months into the pandemic and going stir crazy at home, and my kids finally said, let's get a dog. And I finally broke down and said, okay. And the next day somebody called us and said, we're giving up a pup. Would you like this pup? And we said, sure, let's take it. What's the worst that'll happen? Actually, a lot of good things happened. One of them being my daughter named the pup Zuni. Zun means moon. I would call the pup Zuni Mooni. And one day I thought that sounds like a title of a book with 2 characters. So why don't I try writing a book called Zuni and Mooni? And let's make it about a dog and a cat. Everybody loves dogs and cats. And just to make it hard for myself, I'm going to try making this a graphic novel format. And I'm going to try making it in rhyme, because I've written poetry collections before, and I'm pretty sure rhyme is not going to be that hard. And boy, was I wrong. Writing conversational rhyming dialogue that sounds natural is incredibly hard. So hard that by the time I was done, I was so tired of working on it that I gave everybody stick legs and stick arms. And so I thought I was done. I've written this one story. It's 72 pages long. I'll send it out and I won't have to write another rhyming graphic novel ever again. Well, the editor loved the story and she said, I love the story, but can you please kill this Mooney character? I don't like this Mooney character. So Mooney the cat met a sad and unfortunate end on the editor's table. And then the editor said, shrink this 72 pages down to 30 pages and give me 4 more stories. And I was like, no, I can't write 4 more stories. But she said, no, I actually want you to write 10 more stories. So let's do 2 books. So this one comes out this is already out. And then a follow-up book called Zuni Tales, A Friend Till the End, comes out next June. So check it out. It's a book completely in rhyme, graphic novel. It's a great alternative to Dr. Seuss. It's a great way to get kids into both visual and reading literacy. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikram. I always wondered why they had stick arms and legs. And gosh, we can all just really feel for you. All those contracts. Just sucks to be you, pal. Anyway, Sharon Morris lived in Singapore for 23 years and taught elementary school there. She has 4 adult children and 4 grandsons. The idea for this book came to her while she was teaching English as a second language. She wanted to make reading and hearing the English language fun. COVID helped her put the final finishing touches on the book. We're hearing a lot of good things about COVID today. Her son, Devin, did the beautiful illustrations. Let's hear about the Atlas of Alliterative Animal Adventures. Take it away, Sharon Morris. Go.
Thanks. I am Sharon Morris, and I wrote the book, The Atlas of Alliterative Animals Adventures. And as Dana mentioned earlier, I lived in Singapore for many years. I was an elementary school teacher, and I had a lot of students come into my classroom who didn't speak any English. I wasn't ESL, but anyways, a lot of students come into my classroom who didn't speak any English at all. And it turns out that a lot of children come to Singapore from Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, to learn English, and their families come with them. And a lot of the mothers don't speak any English at all. So the inspiration for the book was for these families to read fun and silly sentences together, learning different parts of speech. So for instance, the book is full of adjectives, verbs, nouns, adverbs, and it has all kinds of different ways for parents and teachers to kind of read it and learn, learn the fun of reading English. So Devin the dapper donkey dressed in a dinner jacket. So as a parent or a teacher, you can take the word donkey out and talk about what's another word we can use with the letter D. So you could use dog or dinosaur and kind of play around with the whole sentence structure of the alliterations. Each sentence also has a country, and the book also has a map at the back illustrating where each country is. So it's a book that's really good for families to read together and for teachers. And I also have lesson plans. If anybody was interested, I have some great lesson plans to go along with the book. And I think that's it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Sharon. Next
Thanks.
up, we have Cassandra Newbold, the editor and contributor of the award-winning YA anthology Everybody Shines. And then Things I'll Never Say is her debut contemporary YA novel. As a host and creator of the Fat Like Me podcast, Cassandra has discussed the need for more intersectional diversity in kidlit with a wide variety of those in the publishing and entertainment industry. She lives in the Pacific Northwest with her family. And now let's hear about Things I'll Never Say.
Hi everyone, I'm Cassandra Newbold. This is my book, Things I'll Never Say. Usually I talk about all the sad stuff that happens in the book, but really today I want to talk about one of the reasons why I wrote it, to have my main character be a fat surfer. I was a fat athlete growing up, and it's rare that you see them portrayed in books. And so my parents always said that I could surf before I walked. My uncle just got inducted into the East Coast Surfing Hall of Fame for his surfboards, Holmesy surfboards. He made one called the Sidewinder. So surfing has been my life. My parents, their wedding was officiated by Tom Morey, who made the boogie boards. So it really has been a part of my life. And the sun is just now starting to shine through my window. Sorry. So anyway, I knew going into this story that if I was going to base it in Florida, that I wanted my main character to surf. And so I really was so excited when my agent and then my editor were all for it, especially getting, even though she's in shadow, a fat girl in a bikini holding a surfboard on the cover. I think that it's so important for everyone to see themselves portrayed. And I feel that with my book, being able to have an athletic girl who is falling in love, being chased after by multiple people, and 30 seconds, and just having the time of her life, while also going through some very hardcore issues that surround my book, was so important. And I'm very happy that now I can say that I have, that portrayal on there, and it's a piece of my history that hopefully other people will be able to relate to. And yeah, sorry, the light is really messing up. Thank you.
Some trivia. We've got a couple of trivia questions about SCBWI. So yeah, Kristen and Karen, take it away.
All right, everybody, we've finally hit our intermission, so everybody can take a deep breath, and we got some trivia coming your way. Who is the current executive director of SCBWI? Everybody should be getting this one right, I hope. Is it Tamika Grooms, Patricia Wiles, Sarah Diamond, or Sarah Baker? I think we can call it at Sarah Baker is indeed the correct answer on that one. What are SCBWI's core values? Creativity, connection, and fun. Connection, professionalism, and fun. Creativity, connection, and professionalism. Or lastly, fun, creativity, and integrity. Right, and the correct answer that looks like most people were right is creativity, connection, and professionalism. Although I have to say, I would root that fun is definitely in there with SCBWI. I bet a lot of you guys can back me up with that, the fun factor. Okay, lastly, question 4. Here we go. How many members does SCBWI have worldwide? About 1 million? Roughly 15,000, over 22,000, or just under 50,000? All right. I think that was a good guess by everybody with just under 50,000, but the correct answer is, well, it's both are right. It's over 22,000. So if it's over 22,000 and you're saying just under 50,000, I mean, you could go either way, but the correct answer is over 22,000. 22,000? All right. Thank you for that trivia. That was brought to you by Ajalyn today. Thank you, Ajalyn.
All right.
Get
We'll
back
move
at it.
on to more presentations, more inside stories. Julie Pashkus is a painter, illustrator, and author. She has illustrated over 35 books for children, many of which she also wrote. She is the winner of the 2023 Bima Brava Award for Children's Book Illustration. In addition to writing and illustrating books, she paints and works in various other media. She loves to play with words and with images. Today, she'll be sharing about her recent picture book, Zigzag. Take it away, Julie.
Thank you. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yep, you sound good.
If I were going to eat the word zigzag, I think it would taste kind of sharp and zesty. And the reason I mention that is because a few years ago, I had an idea about a crocodile and I named him Zigzag. And Zigzag liked to roll words around in his long mouth and see what they tasted like. And right away, I had this idea that Zigzag would be eating a word with all the vowels in it, tambourine, and by mistake swallows the vowels. And the world right away became very dull and boring and sad, just without any vowels, seriously. So that was my idea, but it was sort of a half a book. It was just something that happened. It wasn't a story. And one day when I was taking a walk, I kept thinking, how do I make it a story? Something has to happen. What's going to happen? And I realized that the story could come from Zigzag getting the vowels back that he had lost. So here he is scratching his grandmother's back and she goes, ah, and there's a surfeit of A's and he manages to get one back. So he goes all through finding places where there's too many vowels and getting them back. So in this book, kids can learn about vowels, they can play with words, but it's not pedantic, it's really playful. It's more just having fun with words. I had a tremendous amount of fun writing and illustrating it, and I hope that you will have fun reading it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very fun and very creative. Thank you. Next, we have Luciana Powell, who is originally from Brazil and moved to the United States in 2002. She has loved drawing since she was a kid and uses different media to create her illustrations: watercolors, acrylics, collage, and even digital. She has illustrated several books and magazines for the main publishers in the educational and trade markets. When not working on books, Luciana likes to spend time outdoors in the woods of Washington State. Today, she'll be sharing about her new book, Light Speaks. So welcome, Luciana.
Thank you, everyone. Today, I'm going to share a bit of the process I used to illustrate Light Speaks, written by Christine Layton and published by Tilbury House. So for every book I illustrate, I try to, play around with different medias and techniques. And for this one that talks about man-made and natural light, I knew I wanted to incorporate light somehow, to use real light to help me illustrate it. So what I did, I grabbed a grocery bag. I decided to use the sun, a real star, to help me. So I grabbed a paper bag, grocery bag, and I painted inside dark blue, and I perforated this top side here. And I went outside and used the sun rays to go through the tiny little holes, and it projected little stars on that dark blue paint there. So I had a little sky full of stars image, and I photographed it and sent it to my computer. And then I used watercolors and acrylic washes, and I mix the layers together. So every page in the book that has skies and stars, dark skies and stars, use this technique with the real sun. For my favorite page of the book, which is the Big Bang, the start of time and everything. So this is a nebula, creator of stars. And then the Big Bang, the beginning of everything. So for this spread, I used little pieces of glass and crystal and things I had around the house and plastic. And again, I played around with the sun and got these really cool images projected on the wall. This is a piece of plastic here and photographed all this. And again, mix it with watercolors and swirls of paint there, you know. So then you got the Big Bang. You see the big explosion there and all the elements and galaxies being created. And a fun fact, on the week that I was illustrating this page, the James Webb Telescope that started releasing those amazing, mesmerizing images of the you know, galaxies and faraway stars, they released their first batch of beautiful photos. And the Pinwheel Galaxy is this little red thing here. The Pinwheel Galaxy was like, you know, beautiful. So I illustrated that and on that day and put it on my little Big Bang here. So I like to think this is the first book that includes the Pinwheel Galaxy that was photographed by the James Webb Telescope. So this is Light Speaks, and the author and I created activity sheets. It can be downloaded from my website, lucianaillustration.com, to be used alongside readings of the book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luciana. That was fascinating. I'm totally going to steal some of those techniques. I love it. I got to tell you, that Big Bang actually looks just like my eye right now. So it was a little scary, but okay, I loved it. Next up, we have Catherine Pryor, who is an award-winning children's book author and good food advocate. She's just not into bad food. She grew up in California and Arizona before moving to Seattle to study food and farming. Her books are widely used in school garden curriculum, nutrition education, and anti-hunger initiatives. In addition to writing, Catherine has worked to create better food choices at institutions, large corporations, and food banks. She lives with her husband and twins on Whidbey Island. Let's hear about her newest book, Home is Calling: The Journey of the Monarch Butterfly. Take it away, Catherine.
Thank you so much. So when Ellie Peterson and I were wrapping up production on our first book together, the book's designer asked us if we had ever considered doing a book about monarch butterflies, and it sounded interesting. So I started doing some research and I was hooked. I learned that Eastern migratory monarchs travel up to 3,000 miles each spring and fall, flying from their winter habitat in central Mexico to their summer habitat near the US-Canada border. And while it takes 4 generations of monarchs to travel north, the monarchs traveling south make the entire journey against incredible odds in 1 generation to the exact same forest their great-great-grandparents left previous spring. And in my research, I learned that the monarch population has declined something like 80% since the 1990s. And that is when the sustainable food and farming advocate part of my brain kicked in, because that was right around the time that genetically modified corn and soy started being planted across the Midwest, and the use of chemical herbicides skyrocketed, wiping out the flowering weeds, particularly milkweed, that monarchs rely on. I learned that monarchs are also struggling because of climate change and habitat loss. And I did so much research about monarchs that I actually started dreaming as a butterfly, but I still didn't know how to convey the story and the science in a way that would appeal to kids. Then I saw a photograph that fundamentally changed me. This was in fall of 2018, and people were walking from their homes in Central America to ask for asylum at the northern Mexico border in what would come to be called the migrant caravan. A now famous photo showed a mother with young twins in diapers running from tear gas at the US border. I myself had twins in diapers at that time, and I had just been complaining to someone about how hard it was to take them to the grocery store. I found myself sobbing at the ridiculous weight of how something as arbitrary as a birthplace dictates so much of our lives. And I started thinking about what kind of book those kids might need when they finally made it to safety. And I realized they might relate to a story about a tiny creature who survives an incredible journey against all odds. And I cried and I wrote and I cried and I wrote, and I ended up writing Home is Calling in the first person plural, something I've never done before or since, hoping that it might someday help a kid who had struggled to find a place to call home. And I'm sorry Ellie's not here to talk about her art today because it's amazing. So ask her about it next time you see her. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Beautiful story.
Sweet.
Next, we have Elizabeth Rush, the award-winning author of more than 24 books, which have received multiple starred reviews from Publishers Weekly, Kirkus, Hornbook, Booklist, School Library Journal, and the BCCB, among others. Her work has won the Golden Kite Award, the Subaru Prize, the Cook Prize, and the Green Earth Award, among many others. Today, she will be sharing about her latest book, The 21, The True Story of the Youth Who Sued the U.S. Government Over Climate Change. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for having me and for bringing this incredible group of creators together. I so appreciate it. So my book is about Juliana versus the United States, which is a federal case. The case was filed in 2015, and at the time, my second child was in an environmental middle school, and she and her teachers and some students road trip down to Eugene, Oregon to go to one of the very first hearings of the case. So that's when I first heard about it, and I have been following the case ever since then. My thinking about it changed from kind of, oh, how interesting. This is a great way for young activists to have their voices heard about climate change, to really being moved and convinced by this compelling case. So basically, the young people in this book, 21 young people, are asking the courts a fundamental question. It's a fundamental constitutional question. So they're asking, how can you have life, liberty, and property when you can't breathe from wildfire smoke, when your homes are endangered from massive hurricanes and flooding and droughts and fire? And this case, legal experts, sort of dismissed it, and it has been, the kids have been winning over and over and over again. Basically, these young people have the biggest possible goal to save our planet, and they have the most powerful opponent, the US government, and they have three things on their side: science, the US Constitution, and a small town environmental lawyer who has a brilliant, trailblazing case. I wrote this book like the legal thriller that it turned out to be. It follows the personal stories of these young plaintiffs, their gripping hearings, devastating setbacks, and then really inspiring rulings. This case and cases like it are going to be in the news in upcoming years. And this book will help young people understand this new and very exciting groundwork that's being laid to really address climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What an amazingly important book. And I don't know if you've seen it in the chat, but clearly a book about the First Amendment talks about your case. So you guys should go on a "We're going to sue your ass" tour. Yeah, there you go. To save the planet, of course. Next up, we have Anait Smerjian, who is an illustrator based near Seattle, Washington. Born in Kazakhstan and raised in Armenia, she brings a unique cultural perspective to her artwork. Her passion lies in creating art for children's books. When she's not busy illustrating, Anait enjoys cooking, traveling, which she just traveled back from Armenia like last night, right? So thanks for being awake. Traveling and spending quality time with her family and friends. Today, she will be sharing about her recent book, Babo, A Tale of Armenian Rug Washing Day. And let's hear it for Anait, who's going to correct my pronunciation of her title. Go, Anait.
Hi, everyone. Yes, Babo. Babo means grandma in Artsakh dialect of Armenian language. So when I received the offer to illustrate this book, I was over the moon because I'm Armenian myself. And it's a very special book for me because it's story of my childhood, but also it was very challenging because I was representing my culture and children's books in the US. So in the book, you will see a step-by-step process of rug washing in Armenia. We do it on the streets on summer days, and children and adults love this activity because it's always end up with water play. So here are some Armenian words throughout the book you can find. And in the back matter, there is a Armenian rug weaving tradition explained. Also, you will find a baby Anait with her babo in the back of the book. So this book is Junior Library Guild Gold Standard selection and has already three-starred reviews from Kirkus, the Horn Book, and Publishers Weekly. So check this out, and I hope you like it. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Next up, we have Karen Snelson, who is a Seattle-based book editor, translator, writer, and longtime children's and YA book reviewer. She has served on a Newbery Medal Selection Committee, on 2 ALA Notable Children's Books Committees, and on a 2022 Astrid Lindgren Memorial Award nominating committee through USBBY. She is the co-translator of the French picture book Jerome by Heart, which won a 2019 Batchelder honor, and she is the translator of The Magicians by French author Blex Bullocks. She is a member of the Cephalopod Appreciation Society, the American Library Association, SCBWI, and USBBY. Now let's hear about The Magicians. Welcome, Karen.
Hi, thank you. I'm so excited to share French artist Blex Bullocks' The Magicians with you. At least the title was easy to translate. It was published just 12 days ago by Enchanted Lion Books, and one inside story is that it took 4 years for, I don't know if you can see this, for Blex Bullocks to create this beautiful 200+ page book. He says it came to him in a waking dream, and he elaborates, "I'm sitting on my sofa and letting my mind drift. Images emerge, and if they please me, I let them go wherever they desire." The Magicians does have a delightfully, can you see this? Dreamlike feeling, like Miyazaki's Spirited Away or The Wizard of Oz. This was a very fun book to translate, partly because the story and the language are so lively and quirky and loaded with expressions like, "You look a little green in the gills." The direct French translation for that was, "You have air in your plate." Blex Bullocks is both a gifted storyteller and an innovative artist, and I feel lucky to help spread the word. The other book I'm talking about is alongside publisher Angus UN Killick of Red Comet Press. I co-translated 101 Ways to Read a Book by Timothée de Fombelle and illustrated by the wonderful Benjamin Shaw. It came out on October 17th. The inside story here is that the author filled many, many notebooks with scientific observations of children reading in all sorts of curious positions, and then creating what Finney Books owner Tom Nisley called a taxonomy of rabid readers. I think that I am the eye of the storm. And if you read in the bathtub, very brave thing to do, then you are the water lily. So de Fombelle says of his subjects, the children reading books, "I observe what they do with their bodies when they fall into the imaginary." And I love that way of describing reading, falling into the imaginary. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen, for helping us fall into the imaginary. It's wonderful. Let's hope you never get air on your plate. Mia Spangenberg translates from Finnish, Swedish, and German into English. Her books for children and adults have been published in Finland, the US, the UK, and her work has also appeared in journals such as Lit Hub and Asymptote. She is particularly passionate about children's literature and is a regular contributor to the World Kid Lit blog. She holds a PhD in Scandinavian Studies from the University of Washington, Seattle, where she resides with her family. Today, she will be sharing about her newest publication, Rosie Runs. Take it away, Mia.
Hello, everyone, and thank you to everyone at Inside Story for putting together this wonderful program and for everyone for being here in the audience today. And so my latest translation is this book called Rosie Runs by my friend Marika Maijala from Finland. And it's about a racing greyhound who escapes to freedom and finds new friends at the end of the book. And I wanted to share a little bit with you about my process of translating the book. So this picture book has about 900 words. It's pretty typical for picture books of this size. And you might think that, oh, you know, I could just slap that together in an hour and be done with it and send it off to the publisher. But actually, when you're working with picture books, you want to make sure that you really pay attention to the pictures. So I always read the pictures first. And this book in particular has, they're full of emotion. And so I spent a lot of time brainstorming how the pictures made me feel. And this story in particular turns on the contrast between being imprisoned and then being free. And in this first one, for instance, you can see how sad Rosie is and how miserable and lonely she must feel being imprisoned in her cage. And you can't quite see, but it takes up the whole picture here. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about what that might be like. Then as we go through the book, she escapes to freedom. And here she takes up the full 2 pages of the book. And you can see just how liberating and exhilarating it must have been for her to fly over the stadium and escape. And then at the very end of the book, her jersey has been ripped off and now she's free and has gained new friends. And it's a very satisfying end to the book. It's a very suspenseful, and I hope that it's something that you might want to read with children in your life as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mia. Very beautiful. Next, we have Rachel Sprague, who writes and illustrates out of her home in Seattle, Washington. As a trained natural science illustrator, she gains inspiration from the plants and animals around her. She loves collaborating with scientists and is passionate about bringing the arts and science together through her work. She's excited to share about her debut picture book, Ada's Story, The Remarkable Life of a Rescued Sea Otter. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I'm so humbled to be here among all of you people. This is my first full-length picture book, so it's just really exciting for me. I am like you said, a scientific illustrator in background. That was sort of what my training was in. And I've always loved working with scientists to be kind of a translator between the sciences and the arts. And to sort of find the stories that are out there in the science community and, you know, kind of bring them to light. So anyway, that's sort of what Ada's Story is and what it does. I got to work with the Alaska Sea Life Center to create this book, and also the Seattle Aquarium. And when I first began this book, I thought, you know, this book, it's going to be kind of a fun little book about sea otters, educational, and it is. There's tons of sea otters in this book, and it's all about sea otters, and it's I drew so many sea otters over the past 2 years. It's just kind of amazing how many sea otters I've drawn, but it also is really a deep dive into the people who work with these animals and sort of the wildlife responders and their work that they do. And so that was really fun. I got to sort of live vicariously through the work that they do and what they do. And it was just so fun to kind of live in that world for a little bit and to really learn, you know, how we relate to these creatures, especially, you know, they're wild animals, but what happens when, you know, a wild animal, for whatever reason, it can't be wild anymore. You know, how does it kind of fit into our world and how can we help it? So anyway, that is my book. There's a lot of fun of the book stuff too. My publisher is a small publishing company, Fathom Publishing in Alaska. And they were just so wonderful. I can't say enough about working with a small publisher. Yeah, so that's Autumn's story. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. That was wonderful. I love it. I can't wait to read it. I want to see that. Who takes care of otters? That's they've got to be special people. Next up, we have Suma Subramaniam, whose picture books include Namaste is a Greeting, She Sang for India, The Runaway Dosa, and more. Suma is also the contributing author of The Hero Next Door. Her poetry has been published in several anthologies, including Poetry Magazine. She lives in Seattle with her family and dog. Let's hear about her new book, The Runaway Dosa. Take it away, Suma.
Thank you, Dana, and hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming. This is The Runaway Dosa. In the summer of 2015, I was working with my faculty advisor, the one and only Jane Kurtz in the Vermont College of Fine Arts MFA Children's and Young Adult Literature program, when we both challenged each other to write a story from the cultures that we grew up in. And this story would be inspired by The Gingerbread Man, which, as all of you know, is a folktale about a man who made of gingerbread who runs from a cast of characters. And Jane was an early believer of this story, and I'm thrilled and honored that this book will be is now available in honor of the relationship that I share with her. So she wrote The Runaway Injera for children in Ethiopia, and I created The Runaway Dosa, which is also inspired by an all-time favorite Tamil rhyme called Dose Amma Dose for dosa lovers all over the world. And for readers who are already familiar with the repetitive pattern and tempo of The Gingerbread Man, this story reconnects them to a well-enjoyed South Indian delicacy and also a world of amazing, fantastical animal characters from Indian folklore. And if you look at the pages inside, to the little girl and her family in the story, her brother, they're savoring a regular breakfast with their family and leading a normal life. They use their hands to eat the dosas. And the names of the condiments and ingredients that go into making the dosa may be unfamiliar to some readers, but going through a family adventure through food is a universal experience. So the story pretty much shows how fun it can be when different cultures are blended together. And I hope it makes an entertaining read for classrooms, libraries, and home settings, and helping young readers make their imagination come alive with wonder and excitement. Thank you all for having me again.
Thank you. Very fun. Thank you so much. And last, but certainly not least, we have poet and anthologist Janet Wong, who is the author of more than 40 books for young people. She is the recipient of the 2021 NCTE Excellence in Poetry for Children Award, a Lifetime Achievement Award that is one of the highest honors a poet can receive. Her current work focuses on creating fundraiser anthologies to benefit the IBBY Children in Crisis Fund. Today, she will be talking about her recent poetry collection, What is Hope? So welcome, Janet.
Thank you. This has been such an inspiring afternoon, and I'm just thrilled to be part of it. My first 21 books were published by big publishers like Simon & Schuster, and Julie Pashkis and Margaret Chodos Irvine were some of the illustrators for my favorite books. The past 12 years, I've been publishing books with Sylvia Bardell through our small company, Pomelo Books. And the last 7 of our books had 100% of the profits donated to the IBBY Children in Crisis Fund with big names: Naomi Shihab Nye, Jack Prelutsky, Jacqueline Woodson, Georgia Hurd, Margarita Engel. And this book, this new book, What is Hope, is no exception. We have the brightest new stars in this book. We have Vikram, we have Suma, we have up-and-coming people like Dolores Andral and Joyce Uglow from Wisconsin, who has a perfect Thanksgiving poem about a clean break, which happens when the wishbone breaks evenly. Well, I just want to quickly read a poem of mine called Pickleball. because I believe that you can find hope everywhere. And here's my poem, Pickleball. Hope rides on a serve. Hope floats on a dink. Hope drops into the kitchen. Hope lands on the line. Hope puts its own spin on things. Hope keeps you in the game. So I hope you have a hopeful holiday season, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. That was lovely. Pickleball. I love it. All right, we've got some trivia questions, right?
Let's do it. Let's do it. I hope everybody hangs in there for the last moments. This is the exciting time, folks. Thank you, Karen. Here's our first trivia, and this is for our presenters today, our panelist trivia. So which presenter broke their collarbone while helping someone train for their brown belt test in Aikido? Was it Karina Lukin, Vikram Madan, Anait Shmirdin, or Janet Wong? Who is the Aikido master?
Or not.
Not only are they book people, but they are Aikido masters. It is Karina. Woohoo, Karina. I'm sorry about your collarbone though. I'm sure it healed because she can still paint away and draw like an amazing person that she is. Okay, the next trivia question we have, which presenter's name is also the name of a beach town? How cool is that? To be named after a beach town? Is it Suma Subramaniam? Is it Elizabeth Roosh, Luciana Powell, or Catherine Pryor? It is indeed, it is Suma. She is named after, it's a beach town in Japan. Yeah, with lovely views, apparently. I have not been there, but I would like to go. Okay, question 7. Which presenter spent a summer painting a giant octopus on a piano to be displayed in a Seattle park? How fun is that? Was it Sharon Morris, Cassandra Newbold, Karen Snelson, or Rachel Sprague?
I bet an octopus could play a lot of different octaves.
And the answer is indeed, it is Rachel Sprague. Everybody's doing a really good job with these trivia questions. Okay, we have one more, I believe. This is our last trivia, and then we'll get on to the prizes. Which presenter won a second place ribbon, not a first place ribbon, just a second place ribbon at a county fair with brownies made from a mix? Oh, I love that they're admitting this. Was it Karen Snelson, Jennifer Bradbury, Jay Anderson Coates, or Barbara Herkert?
That gives hope to the rest of us. Can't cook.
You can still win food prizes even when you don't make them from scratch.
And you can cheat. You can even cheat to win this raffle. Just wait.
All right, get your blast votes in. And it was indeed the very sneaky Jay Anderson Coates, also known as Jillian, that sneaky one who was using that mix.
That sounds like her.
Cheating everybody else.
All right.
Thanks, you guys. That was fun.
Thank you, Kristen and Karen. Okay, now it's time for surprises. We're going to raffle 3 books, and you must be present to win. When you hear your name, write, "I'm here" in the chat bar. Just, "I'm here." I'm going to randomly pick Olivia Mills. Are you here, Olivia Mills? Come on. I know you're around, Olivia. Yes, you are here, Olivia Mills. Okay, you're the first winner. Yay, Olivia. Okay, our second winner is T.P. Jagger. T.P., you here? Let's hear it. Yodel. Okay, T.P. Jagger. Yay. And by the way, the book you get is going to be by somebody here. You can't just pick anything. Well, you could pick something I wrote. The third one is Ann Bella. Ann, are you here? Pandemonium reigns until you jump in. Are you there? Come on. Let's hear it. Ann. Gimme. She is here. All right, we have 3 lovely winners, and we'll all figure out how to get your books somehow. Don't know how, doesn't matter. That's not really important. Take it back, Ajalen.
All right, thank you, Dana. Yes, I will be emailing you about your books, the 3 of you who won. So thank you for attending, and congratulations on your free books. So to close out, thank you all so much to our lovely presenters. It's so inspiring and hopeful to hear from all of our creators, the local creators, to see the incredible work that they have made, they have done. I'm so grateful and glad for this platform that we have this opportunity to share with all who are watching, as well as also who are going to be watching the recording later. And for this reason, I want to give an enormous thank you to Holly Huckabee, the regional advisor of our Western Washington chapter of SCBWI. Holly has done such an amazing job for our chapter, offering more and more classes, programs, and opportunities for our Pacific Northwest corner of the Kidlit world. Another thank you goes to my co-host, Dana, who selected me to be the next Inside Story coordinator last year, just 1 year ago, seemingly by chance in a random poll or a giveaway that he did, not a giveaway, a little wheel of fortune that he did, and I was chosen. So I'm so grateful for that and the opportunity to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. SCBWI has been putting on a lot of excellent programming, which you can see at scbwi.org on the wonderful new website. If you've got a book inside of you that is struggling to get out, please go to scbwi.org and explore the amazing resources that it provides. Don't forget also to download today's PDF program and check out everyone's websites and books. And then please buy some books or hire our presenters to come to your school, and do whatever you can to help keep Kidlit thriving. Yeah. Also, the recording of this webinar will be sent out to all of you, so stay tuned for that link in the next couple of weeks. All right, on behalf of the Western Washington chapter of SCBWI, thank you everyone for attending and for watching, and have a lovely evening.